Take me to the sea, wash away my worries, let my soul be free. Take me to the ocean, take me to the sea, wash away my worries, let my soul be free.
Hello world, I'm Max. Back in IRL, I go by Curtis. Welcome to another episode of the State Copy Podcast. As always, I'll remind you to review episode 0 and its appended segments for terms, conditions, and disclosures applicable to the entirety of this content. Thank you. Well, hey, good morning. It's been a while since I've done one of these. With all this week, as I was thinking about ideas for the show, absorbing content as I usually do from all around the world, on all of the topics, I just kind of had writer's block a little bit this week. I didn't have anything specific to say on markets or on anything else. There's just, but there were some pretty big events that happened this week, so I want to cover some of my thoughts on it. None of this is well organized. I just woke up this morning and thought, well, I didn't get a show out this week. Enough has happened. I should have. So let's see. I'm going to probably go through sort of my watch list, and I'll link all the descriptions of some of the videos. I'll point out some of the ones that stood out that I've been looking at this week. And let's see, the two big events. So two big things that are on my radar are, of course, this latest banking failure. What is it? First Republic. If you look at the chart, if you held equity there, it looks like a shit coin in crypto. And are we done? I don't know. I'm listening to everyone talk about this, and I think there are a lot of good cases for and against. I think that my gut is I don't think we're out of it in this early phase. And as I mentioned, I think there's going to be two legs to this. I think there's going to be, so we might be done this latest one for now. But then I think when we hit this sort of seasonal liquidity shortage that happens at the around the September, October timeframe, then I think that's when we're going to get a second leg that's a bit more severe than what we've seen with Silicon Valley. Four banks that just... I saw a great Twitter feed. Somebody had a banking bingo, I think it's called, with... I got to see if I can find this. Oh, I won't be able to find it in time, but it was pretty funny. Just showing a list of banks that have similar... portfolio allocations and everything that may have some of the duration risk, that like the issue that Silicon Valley Bank found themselves into. I'm going to pause right here. And continue. I think I'm going to recommend this morning's show, Blockworks Macro, Mippo, Michael Ippolito, and Mark Yusko, their conversation. The banking panic isn't over yet on the weekly roundup. I'm watching this right now. I'm at about a third of the way into it. I think if you want to get a good, just kind of like what happened, and they've got some great charts there that the stock price of First Republic. Good if you want to be well informed. I think this is a good place to start. I'm going to probably be watching some of the fallout from this latest one throughout next week, and I'll probably provide an update later that's more in depth. Don't know yet. I heard enough compelling arguments for we're not at systemic bank crisis, and also a lot of thoughts around. I would say the banks being positioned to survive credit crisis. So more and more is coming around this commercial lending. I think like more and more people are looking at it, seeing it. I also heard there was it made Blockworks Bell Curve and a few other major shows I watched. People are they were calling out this bank or not bank, this giant building, commercial building in San Francisco, and they were talking about its markdown on its books. I think it was like 300 million to create this building 4 years ago or something like that, and it just got marked down 80%, and hasn't sold yet. So once that happens, that's going to set a baseline for repricing everything around it. So I want to wait and watch. I'm going to probably pay attention to how that sale goes, and then watch that market, just because I'm curious how San Francisco seems like it's just getting the brunt of it. I think a lot of tech is sort of giving up on California and going to Austin and Florida. And also, people aren't going back to offices. So I don't know that means there'll be some sort of commercial boom in these new areas for these new tech centers of the United States. So, yeah, I just think the future looks so much different than it has historically. With regard to commercial real estate. So nothing yet. I haven't really done any further work this week on where auto's at and auto lending. But commercial real estate seems to be ticking along right where I kind of had it. And that would point at, I think that lines up with credit problems opening new credit lines later this year, and that creates the Lehman moment or the AGI moment. Sort of what I see. I still what's his name? Well, I don't have it prepared, but the guy who's basically predicting like a blowout is Sven. I think I can't remember if it's Sven Hendrickson or something like that. I'll link it in the description. Link to his work. He points to like a lot of times before you have a huge pullback, like out in the larger markets, across the S&P and all that, you kind of get like a blow off top type thing because so many people who see it coming position that way early, and that it creates like a short, or they overindulge themselves in their thesis and they start shorting, and that creates a liquidation opportunity right before the collapse. So I think we actually still see a big whoop and then down. So yeah, I mean, like I'm just kind of watching all these things aside from this latest bank collapse. I think we might be sort of done. But I don't know. I'll update on that. The next thing that's been kind of on my radar is in crypto. I've been watching Layer 1 forever, and my thesis kind of has been that while there may be a somewhat multi-chain future, I think that could look like 99% one chain and then just like some other DeFi stuff that exists outside of it on other chains. And the 99% chain will be the one that can scale and get cost right. So I've bet pretty heavily around that. And you saw that in my playbook. But this week, I'm noticing I'm getting a lot of confirmation of that thesis, and where I was hedging before with Ethereum NFT, I've kind of lost my conviction around that hedge. I saw this week, I saw some of the biggest ETH maxis there are buying into the latest Solana tipped the personal profile pick NFT market this week, and they now have with Mad Lads NFT. They now have a there's more hype. There's more legit hype, and there's more. So my NFT thesis, just in a nutshell, is I think they're extremely the NFTs with the right pedigree, the ones that are on the network that ends up taking 99% of the market share, I think those will be really important. I think that there's always been collectibles, even though I've never been into any collectibles, I can kind of get on board with ones that don't take up room in my house. So the digital ones kind of make sense to me. This is where we're going. I always thought that, although I've always looked at Ethereum as sort of like a sandbox for early crypto, smart contracts, DeFi stuff, I thought maybe some of the sandbox NFTs could still be important. I don't know. I'm reevaluating that. I think that the ones that will, I think you want to be on that 99% of everything chain. I think that's where the collector thesis will be most important. So I've decided to start sort of carefully shifting that hedge position I had in like Ethereum NFT out. And it's rough because that market has just gotten beat. But I see we're beginning a new liquidity cycle. We formed bottom positions. Trend, CTO Larson's trend analysis showing me gold in crypto, Bitcoin, Solana shifting gold on a lot of things. So this is the time where positioning is crucial if you're playing this game. And, you don't want to be sitting on any turds if you can. If you can. And I don't mean to make it sound like that. I mean, I could be completely wrong. But as I try and play this like a strategy game, that hedge kind of made sense for me. But now that I'm seeing, Nick Carter, former BTC Maxi, with a Mad Lads NFT as his profile pic on Twitter, I see, oh man, the original Ethereum Maxis, the Bankless crew, buying Solana and buying Mad Lads NFT. That's only happening in one spot. And that was kind of a signal I'd been expecting as inevitable. But it took so much longer than I thought it would take. I mean, I thought all that was going to happen 2 years ago. But that's just how technology works. Like, it takes a while to be proven. Like, all of the negative sentiment around Solana for the last 2 years around outages and all that. I think everybody's seeing that they were the only ones testing world scale load. And there were some problems with that, but they've resolved them, and the network is incredibly resilient now. And it handled an NFT mint like none of the other chains have. So it's just further confirmation of a lot of my ideas, and it was kind of a signal I'd been waiting for to kind of exit my hedge. And What I'll probably do with those positions is I'm going to put them in my sort of long shot bets category on stuff that's getting built out in Solana ecosystem. I'm really interested in Hive Mapper, and I'm really interested. Hive Mapper, check it out. There was a really great podcast with the founder of Hive Mapper with Logan Jastrzemski's podcast. I think that was yesterday. I'll link it in the description. Makes a really strong case for why you can just do maps a hell of a lot better than Google Maps, and why their business model for collecting the mapping is expensive and slow. Shit. And I think that when I look at the chart, there's almost no volumes right now, so it's hard to see. But I don't know. I got a nose for these things. And so I think what I'll do is just move like a couple ETH NFT positions. Because I think they'll come back, but I think they'll maybe like 2 or 3x, and I think that those gains will be trivial in comparison to how some of this other stuff does. So I'm just positioning some of my hedge stuff into growthier stuff, which is risky, but not if we are actually in I think most in crypto would agree we have a clear bottom of the market and we're back in an uptrend. But historically, what happens now is a 1 year march sideways and then lots of up, frothy up at the end, which would be sort of 2025. 2024 could be a lot of sideways, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, way up. And that's in the recovery as liquidity. Now, where that comes from is money printer go burr. It's because if we have a credit crisis in the old finance, in old fi, this impending recession, I think it looks really rough, but I think most of the pain's been had in the growthier stuff. Like the people that look at that took their pain, leverage was removed, and now we're at a point where they've established enough old fi money to sustain them through the next 2 years. Well, and because all of us can see this all so much more clearly, it means this market may not play out the way it did last time. We could get a run up as early as it could mean that the run up starts now, but then it softens when we get the credit crisis, the commercial real estate. I don't know. This is just what I think, and I could be wrong. We'll see. But I think most of that pain from that thing you're hearing about online, that happens in all of old fi. I think new fi remains flat or goes up because a lot of people see the writing is so clearly on the wall for where this is going in our kind of inevitable future. So, yeah, I think we could get a different cycle. I think that the uptick could start earlier than it did in the last crypto winter. I'll link again here Raoul Paul's description of this and how it's basically because right after 08, 09, they basically did a reset because of the banking collapse. And they refinanced all the debt at like the same time. And so now it's on the same 3.5 year cadence. And then if you look at, the survey, I'm trying to remember the survey that Raoul Paul always quotes, but it's the manufacturer's survey. And if you look at Just MMT. If you look at it, the way forward looks pretty clear to me, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all my thoughts on. I guess the two major things I saw and was paying attention to this week were those two. Let's see, any other videos I want to call out. I'm gonna link China Update. I find this guy's channel helpful, and he just does like a quick 10-minute blurb every day, and talks about happenings in China, like on the ground. I think he lives there. He's native British guy, or sorry, he's a British guy that is an expat, and yeah, I don't know. He's got a good channel. I like his drone footage he uses. I will link that if you're trying to keep up on some of the happenings there. Let's see. What else was interesting? Ray Dalio did a snippet on Chris Williamson's podcast for the Changing World Order. If you didn't get a look, maybe there's some of his latest thoughts and how events of the last 2 years have trended very close to what his expectations were. I didn't watch the whole thing, but because I've seen so much of Ray Dalio's thesis, it was mainly just him saying, yep, this is kind of playing out, and it's scary the way I anticipated and the way it always has historically. SpaceX, I've been watching. I like the whole thing. I love the idea of making humanity, just getting all our eggs out of one basket. And so I watched the launch on April 20th. And it was awesome, but it looked like it obliterated the pad. It was interesting to watch how mainstream media just fucking hates Elon. And so everything. Oh, it blew up. It blew up. It was a joke. My friends, everybody ready to grave dance on SpaceX when I think what they're doing is so cool. Like, why shit on that project? Why hope for it to fail? I mean, regardless of what you might think about an Elon Musk, think of all those people that work there. Look at the go watch one of those launches, any of their launches, but even the one from April 20th. Look at all the people that worked. The people that work on that project are passionate as shit. And they're working 50, 60-hour weeks because they believe in what they're doing, and it's kind of beautiful. And I love that energy of just creating something that looks impossible. And don't hope for that to fail. Celebrate the victories. They got it off the pad. The thing that looks scary to me is that it really seems like, because they didn't have a flame diverter under it, the concrete of 33 Raptor engines firing up caused most of the problems in the flight, I think, when it basically just eroded from underneath the platform. And Elon did one of his typical, oh yeah, we'll be up in 2 months. Consensus on that is probably not likely, but I don't know. Sometimes they surprise us. Maybe they expected this to somehow get obliterated, and now they don't have to dig the hole for the giant steel plate that they want to cool underneath it. I don't know. I'll be watching. I really want to see these guys win. You know, like, it's awesome. You know, and if you look at the stats on what Starship is going to do to make space affordable and accessible for humanity, even if you don't care about Mars and you think it's stupid for us to get all of our eggs out of this one basket and we should be focusing all our energy on protecting Mother Earth, I think we should focus a lot of our energy on that. I think Elon Musk in particular is working hard on that with all the EV shit. But why shit on that idea that of building a reusable rocket that can land itself. I mean, watch the Falcon 9s do it and tell me that's not cool as hell. I think it is. Yeah, I was. It was exciting to watch a launch again, and that thing, if you don't realize the scale, is it was the largest rocket we've ever launched, and most of the day's objectives, the on paper objectives, were met by that, and they learned a ton. And if you have been watching SpaceX, they get better every time. They don't get worse. They don't make stupid mistakes. They make mistakes because they're trying something extremely ambitious. Can't wait to watch the next one. Okay, let's see. What else have I got? I'm trying to pay attention. So Blockworks also has this. They have a new. Let's see. I'll turn it down. I'm as always struggling with proper nouns, but there is a show called Market Depth. I've listened to this guy talk plenty, and I'm totally losing his name right now. But basically, they got a guy on the ground in Japan, and I listened to his podcast last week, and I'm going to get it. Just fast forward this bit if it bothers you. Or I'll pull it from my history. There is a huge changing of the guard. The Central Bank of Japan, Kuroda was his name, I want to say, just retired, and a new person stepped into the role. And what they've been doing has been everybody, basically, their money printer permanently goes burr. They fix yields on their bonds, their bond market, by just buying up whenever there's liquidity freezes up. Normally what that does in a bond market is it makes yields go up. And because they're fixing the price of their yields, what they do is their central bank goes in and just buys more bonds whenever nobody's buying them, and that keeps yields at a fixed level. And listen to this guy's Weston Nakamura. That's his name, Weston. Listen to what Weston has to say. He's one of the most educated I've found on Japanese monetary and central bank. And he did kind of a funny skit on a few good yen, he called it. I listened to that last week. First time I'd heard it, and I thought it was great. I got a kick out of it. He basically does the speech that Jack Nicholson does at the end of A Few Good Men, through the lens of this thing Japan has been doing with yield curve control. You need me on that wall. It's funny. It's funny if you're a macro geek like me. But I think he makes a lot of solid points about why it was the whole global monetary and Eurodollar has needed it. And it points to why what they decide to do right now is so critical for not just Japan. If they were to suddenly shift their policy and what that looks like, really interesting. I don't know. As I listened to it, I was like, if I was Japan, I would have made a thing like Bitcoin. And maybe Satoshi Nakamoto is going to show up at one point and say, oh, yeah, it was all part of the plan to just basically milk our stagnant economy for as much as we could get out of the Eurodollar, and then show up with the solution people use later on down the road for digital gold. Wouldn't that be funny? No idea. It's probably just some multi-sig that's lost, but maybe Japan's going to show up and no, it was Satoshi Nakamoto. And here's his paperwork to prove it. I don't know. Wild speculation there. And let's see. Is there any others I want to mention? All in pod. I've been, I routinely watch this show. I even did one of my shows kind of on, specifically addressed to the crew on All In Pod. I think it's funny that these guys have declared crypto dead. They don't see the cyclicality of the market, and I'm watching them try and reimagine themselves through the lens of how disruptive AGI will be to their industry and how I don't know. It's really interesting for me to watch, but I don't have any I think they're a bit lost right now, that crew. Trying to figure out how this next time is going to be. Let's see. What else? Why Santi bought Soul on Empire. That is wild. Watching Blockworks Empire, this is Jason Janowitz and Santi talk about, there's a lot of Ethereum maxis behind Solana all of a sudden. And when you see it and how much better it works, I think it's just like, oh, I get it. This wasn't a joke. This is a thing that we're all probably going to be using soon. I think that's what happens when you use that. We'll see. But let's see. I think that's it. We'll just keep it to how long have I been going? About a half-hour show today. I'll do updates later in the week. Probably go through more of my watch list. To anybody listening, you're the coolest. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Now it's coming around, you're feeling cut down and in the ground, and so we all come together. We making a sound, we sing. Look at all this love we found.